Deep beneath Vatican City lies a secret so vast, so mysterious, that only a few ever glimpse it. These are not just ancient texts or dusty manuscripts. They are the Vatican Archives, a hidden labyrinth of knowledge guarded with iron resolve. For centuries, these archives have whispered their secrets, tempting the curious and haunting the minds of historians, theologians, and conspiracy theorists alike. What truths lie locked behind these ancient doors? Are there forbidden texts, lost scriptures, or scandalous records that could rewrite history? Or are they mere myths, rumors that have been magnified over centuries? The Vatican Archives, officially known as the Archivum Secretum Apostolicum Vaticanum, were established in 1612 by Pope Paul V. But the word secretum doesn't mean secret in the modern sense. It means private, belonging solely to the Pope and his closest advisors. Despite this subtle linguistic twist, the aura of secrecy has only grown stronger over the years. These archives are not an open library, but a highly restricted sanctuary of knowledge. Only a select few, scholars with special permissions, are allowed to enter, and even they face strict rules about what they can view. The archives are so vast that they span nearly 85 kilometers of shelves, containing centuries of letters, decrees, correspondences, and unknown manuscripts. Yet, even among these carefully catalogued pages, there are rumors of hidden chambers and forbidden documents that the public has never seen. Over the years, the archives have been the subject of wild speculation. Some say they contain the true story of Jesus Christ, secret prophecies that could alter the course of history, or even documentation of the Church's darkest dealings. Others whisper of lost texts from ancient civilizations, books of forbidden knowledge, or correspondence that reveals secret alliances. The Vatican itself insists that the archives are simply a historical record, a repository of religious and political documents, crucial to the Church's administration. But if that is the case, why are so many texts sealed away, beyond the reach of even the most respected historians? This is not just a story of dusty manuscripts and ancient scrolls. It is a story of power, control, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. Knowledge that, in the wrong hands, could change everything. Welcome to the Vatican Archives, where every locked door hides a question, and every hidden document could be a revelation. The Vatican Archives did not emerge from a mere desire to store documents. They were born from an urgent need for control, power, and preservation. In the early 17th century, Pope Paul V recognized that the vast and scattered records of the Church were vulnerable to loss, theft, and even deliberate destruction. To secure the Church's most critical documents, he ordered the creation of the Archivum Secretum Apostolicum Vaticanum, a central fortified repository beneath the Vatican's sprawling halls. These archives were never meant to be an open treasure trove of knowledge. They were, from the very beginning, a sanctuary, an impenetrable vault where the Church's most sensitive secrets could be protected. But what exactly did the Church deem so important that it needed to be locked away from the world? The archives initially served as a secure storage space for papal correspondence, legal documents, and diplomatic records, letters between the Pope and kings, treaties that shaped Europe, decrees of excommunication, and even the trial records of the Knights Templar were meticulously stored and catalogued. This was not just a collection of religious texts, it was the nerve center of the Church's political, religious, and diplomatic power. By controlling access to these documents, the Vatican controlled the narrative of history. It could protect its allies, conceal its mistakes, and preserve the image of an institution that was not just a faith but a global empire. As centuries passed, The archives expanded in size and purpose. Successive popes continued to store their most sensitive materials within these walls, including documents on theological disputes, secret investigations into heresy, and even letters from scientists like Galileo Galilei, whose ideas once threatened the Church's teachings. Each new pope added to the collection, ensuring that the archives became a living record of the Church's evolving influence over the world. But these were not just dusty records of the past. They were tools of power. A letter held in these archives could determine the fate of a kingdom. A papae decretum ameliet it orisnec, megvaltos tatatja a tertenelem menetet. For the Church, knowledge was power, and the archives were a fortress of that power. Yet the more the archives grew, the more their secrecy deepened. Unlike other great libraries of Europe, which invited scholars to study their collections, the Vatican Archives remained closed to the outside world. For centuries, they were a forbidden domain, with only the highest-ranking Church officials granted access. Even today, while scholars can apply for permission to study specific documents, they are subjected to strict rules. They cannot simply wander through the archives, and entire sections remain permanently sealed. The Church defends this secrecy by insisting that it is necessary to protect fragile documents, respect the privacy of those who corresponded with the popes, and prevent the misuse of sensitive information. But this official explanation has done little to silence the whispers and rumors. Why keep so much hidden? Why are some sections permanently closed, even to the most trusted scholars? For some, the answer lies in the very nature of power. The Vatican is not just a religious institution. It is a sovereign state with a long and often controversial history. Within these archives could be records that contradict official Church teachings, correspondences that reveal political manipulations, or ancient texts that challenge orthodox theology. Others speculate that the Vatican may be hiding dark secrets, scandals that could shake the faith of millions, or forbidden knowledge that would upend the Church's authority. The more restricted the archives have become, the more they have fueled the imagination of the world beyond their walls. But the mystery is not just about what is hidden, it is about why it remains hidden. Are these secrets too dangerous for the world to know? Or is the Church simply preserving its version of history, locking away anything that could threaten its sacred narrative? In the Vatican Archives, the truth is not just a collection of old papers. It is a weapon, a power that only the highest authorities of the Church can wield. The Vatican Archives have always been more than just a collection of ancient documents. They are a fortress of mystery, a place where history's most controversial secrets are whispered but never confirmed. For centuries, rumors have swirled around these hidden vaults, giving rise to some of the most tantalizing conspiracy theories in history. Some claim that the archives hold the true story of Jesus Christ, a narrative so explosive that it would shatter the foundation of Christianity itself. Others speak of lost gospels, ancient texts that were deliberately excluded from the Bible, containing teachings that would challenge the Church's doctrine. There are whispers of a document known as the chronovisor, a mystical device supposedly created by the Vatican that can view past events. A story so bizarre that it borders on science fiction, yet it is a tale that refuses to die. But the most disturbing rumors are those that speak of hidden knowledge, writings on forbidden sciences, ancient magical texts, or prophecies of the apocalypse. Some believe that within these sacred walls lie manuscripts describing dark rituals, ancient grimoires that teach the secrets of the occult, or letters exchanged with secret societies whose influence has stretched across the centuries. It is even said that the Vatican has the secret of immortality, locked away in a text known as the elixir of eternal life. a manuscript so dangerous that it has been hidden for the safety of the world. These tales have been dismissed by the Church as pure fantasy, but the very fact that so many documents remain classified, even in the modern age, only adds fuel to the fire. After all, in a place where secrecy is the rule, how can anyone truly know what is real and what is myth? But beyond the realm of conspiracy theories, there are stories of real researchers, brilliant historians, theologians, and scholars who have tried to unlock the secrets of the Vatican Archives, only to be met with a wall of silence. One of the most famous cases is that of the German historian Joseph Alois Schmid, who in the 19th century requested access to a series of documents relating to the Inquisition. Despite his impeccable credentials, Schmid was repeatedly denied. He became convinced that the Vatican was hiding documents that revealed the true horrors of the Church's medieval witch hunts, torture, false confessions, and the deliberate extermination of entire communities labeled as heretics. Schmid's frustration grew to the point that he began to speak publicly about his suspicions, and his claims were quickly dismissed as anti-Catholic propaganda. But for those who believed him, his story was proof that the Vatican was not just guarding history, it was hiding the truth. Another more recent case is that of Italian journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi, whose 2012 book, His Holiness, revealed a series of confidential documents leaked directly from the Vatican. Nuzzi's source, known only as Maria, was a member of the Vatican's inner circle who smuggled out letters and reports exposing corruption, financial mismanagement, and even power struggles within the Church itself. The Vatican's response was swift and brutal. The source was eventually identified as Pope Benedict XVI's butler, Paolo Gabriele, who was arrested and imprisoned. Nuzzi himself became a target of Vatican criticism, his credibility attacked, and his investigations stonewalled. For those who had always suspected that the Vatican Archives were more than just a library, this scandal was a glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder that the Church would go to any lengths to protect its secrets. But what about the forbidden texts that have been confirmed to exist? There are the sealed trial records of the Knights Templar, a once powerful order of warrior monks accused of heresy and disbanded under mysterious circumstances. When the Vatican finally released some of these documents in 2007, they revealed that the Church had secretly absolved the Templars of all charges, contradicting centuries of official history. There are also the records of the trial of Galileo Galilei, the great astronomer who dared to say that the Earth revolved around the Sun, a truth that threatened the Church's teachings and led to his condemnation. These documents showed not just the Church's rejection of science, but its ruthless suppression of those who challenged its authority. But even with these revelations, many believe that the most dangerous documents remain hidden. The Vatican has confirmed that there are sealed sections of the archives that are completely inaccessible to anyone, even the most trusted scholars. What do these sections contain? Are they simply sensitive diplomatic letters? Or do they hide something far darker, evidence of secret deals with powerful rulers, accounts of religious wars fought in the name of God but fueled by greed, or even records of the Church's darkest sins? There are stories of researchers who, after requesting access to certain documents, were quietly advised to abandon their inquiries. Others, like historian Barbara Fraley, who published documents proving that the Shroud of Turin had been in the possession of the Templars, have been publicly attacked, their reputations dragged through the mud. The Vatican's response to all of this is always the same. The archives are a private collection, not a public library, and their restrictions are meant to protect the Church's historical records. But for those who have stood at the great bronze doors of the archives, surrounded by Swiss guards, that explanation is not enough. They see those doors not as a gateway to knowledge, but as a barrier to the truth. What secrets lie in those endless corridors of ancient parchment and dusty tomes? Are they stories of divine miracles, dark conspiracies, or simple human corruption? The Vatican may call it a matter of faith, but for the rest of the world, it is a matter of forbidden knowledge, knowledge that could shatter beliefs, rewrite history, and forever change the world's understanding of the Church's power. Within the Vatican Archives, the air is thick with the scent of ancient parchment and whispered secrets. But beyond the countless documents and manuscripts, there are whispers of something stranger, objects and artifacts that defy explanation, relics that should not exist, and lost documents that seem to have vanished from the pages of history. These are not just the religious texts and papal letters that one might expect to find in such a sacred place. No, these are items that blur the line between history and legend, fact and fiction. They are said to be relics of unimaginable power, texts that hold forbidden knowledge, and correspondences that reveal a hidden world of secret alliances and dark conspiracies. One of the most famous legends surrounding the Vatican Archives is that of the Grand Grimoire, also known as the Red Dragon. This is not an ordinary book. It is said to be an ancient tome of magic, a grimoire containing spells so powerful that they could summon demons or grant the user unlimited power. Some versions of the legend claim that this grimoire was written by Satan himself, while others say it was the work of a rogue priest who sought to harness forbidden knowledge. According to the story, the Vatican obtained this dark text centuries ago and locked it away deep within the archives, where it has been kept ever since, never to be read, for fear of unleashing its terrible power. Officially, the Church denies the existence of such a book, but the legend persists, whispered by those who believe that even the holiest of places can harbor darkness. But it is not just the Grand Grimoire that haunts the shadows of the Vatican Archives. There are rumors of ancient texts from lost civilizations, manuscripts written in languages that no scholar has ever deciphered. Some say these are the last remnants of the Library of Alexandria, the great repository of knowledge that was consumed by fire nearly 2,000 years ago. Others speak of scrolls from Atlantis, a fabled civilization that vanished beneath the waves, leaving behind only whispers of its great wisdom. According to the tales, these texts contain secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of history, science, and religion, knowledge that the Church has chosen to hide rather than share with the world. Among the most controversial of these rumored texts is the Gospel of Judas, an ancient manuscript that presents a shocking version of the story of Jesus Christ. In this text, Judas Iscariot is not a traitor, but a loyal disciple who betrays Jesus at his own request, fulfilling a divine plan. The existence of this gospel was confirmed in 2006, but many believe that the version released to the public is heavily edited, with the original unaltered text still locked within the Vatican Archives. Why would the Church hide such a text? Because it challenges the very foundation of Christian theology, presenting a narrative in which betrayal is not a sin, but a sacred duty. Then there are the secret correspondences, letters exchanged between popes and powerful rulers, alliances that were forged, and betrayals that were plotted in the shadows. One of the most famous is the rumored correspondence between Pope Leo XIII and the Freemasons, an organization that the Church officially condemned as heretical. According to some accounts, these letters reveal that the Vatican maintained a secret relationship with the Masonic order, using it as a tool of influence in European politics. Another tale speaks of a secret agreement between the Vatican and Nazi Germany, in which the Church allegedly offered its silent support, in exchange for protection. Historians who have tried to access these letters have been met with silence, their requests for access denied without explanation. And yet, the strangest of all are the relics, objects that defy logical explanation, said to possess supernatural properties. There are whispered tales of the spear of destiny, the lance that pierced the side of Christ on the cross, said to grant victory in battle to whoever possesses it. Some believe that the true spear of destiny is not in a European museum, as some claim, but locked away in the Vatican Archives, a relic too powerful to be displayed. Others speak of the veil of Veronica, a sacred cloth that is said to bear the miraculous image of Christ's face. While the Vatican displays a version of this relic, skeptics insist that the true veil is hidden within the archives, too sacred or too dangerous to be shown to the world. But perhaps the most unsettling rumors involve relics that are not merely sacred, but cursed. Stories tell of a fragment of the true cross that drips with blood, even after centuries, or a vial of water from the baptism of Christ that boils when touched by a sinner. There is even talk of a mummified hand said to be the severed limb of an excommunicated sorcerer who dared to defy the Church. These are the kinds of stories that the Vatican dismisses as myths, the product of overactive imaginations and anti-Catholic propaganda. But they persist because the Vatican Archives are, by their very nature, a place of mystery, a place where the line between history and legend blurs. The Church insists that these stories are fabrications, that the Vatican Archives are simply a collection of historical documents preserved for the sake of knowledge and tradition. But for those who believe in these tales, the archives are something far more sinister, a place where the Church has not only preserved the truth, but hidden it, locking away the secrets that could shatter faith, topple kingdoms, and reshape our understanding of the world. Whether these strange artifacts and lost documents truly exist, or are simply the product of fevered imaginations, one thing is certain. As long as the Vatican Archives remain shrouded in secrecy, they will continue to be a source of endless fascination, a treasure trove of forbidden knowledge that the world may never truly know. In the modern era, the Vatican Archives continue to be a fortress of secrecy, a place where history is guarded as fiercely as a treasure. Despite the passage of time and the rise of information technology, access to the archives remains as restricted as ever, a fact that has sparked a series of controversies in recent decades. For scholars, journalists, and curious minds, the archives represent both a promise and a paradox, a promise of hidden knowledge and a paradox of restricted access. In 2019, a wave of excitement swept through the historical community when Pope Francis announced that the Vatican would open the archives of Pope Pius XII, a controversial figure who led the Catholic Church during the horrors of World War II. Researchers hope to uncover the truth about the Church's relationship with Nazi Germany, particularly the allegations that Pius XII remained silent in the face of the Holocaust. But when the archives were finally opened in 2020, scholars were met with a familiar challenge: limited access, bureaucratic hurdles, and countless documents that were still off limits. This was not an isolated incident. Throughout history, the Vatican has maintained strict control over who can access the archives and what they can view. Officially, the Church insists that these restrictions are necessary to protect the fragile documents from damage and to respect the privacy of those who corresponded with the popes. But critics argue that this is merely an excuse, a way for the Vatican to maintain control over its narrative and keep its darkest secrets hidden. In 2010, journalist John Luigi Nuzzi published a groundbreaking book titled Vatican Spia, which revealed a series of leaked documents detailing corruption and financial misconduct within the Vatican Bank. His revelations shook the Church to its core, and Nuzzi's source, a member of the Vatican's inner circle, was quickly exposed and punished. The Vatican's response to the scandal was swift and severe, but it also highlighted a deeper truth, that within these sacred walls, secrets are not just preserved, they are protected. Historians, too, have struggled to pierce the veil of secrecy surrounding the archives. In 2006, Professor David Kurtzer, a renowned scholar of Italian history, was granted permission to study documents related to the Church's relationship with the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini. But even with official permission, Kurtzer found himself facing endless bureaucratic obstacles. Documents were missing, sections were redacted, and many requests were simply ignored. Kurtzer later described the experience as a battle against an impenetrable bureaucracy designed to keep the Church's darkest chapters buried. He was not the first to experience this frustration, and he will not be the last. For many scholars, the Vatican Archives are a place of endless mystery, a place where the truth is always just out of reach. But why does the Vatican maintain such secrecy in an age where transparency has become the standard? For some, the answer is simple: power. The Vatican is not just a religious institution, it is a sovereign state, with a complex history of political intrigue, alliances, and betrayals. Within the archives are not just religious texts, but diplomatic correspondences, records of secret negotiations, and evidence of the Church's influence over kings and emperors. By controlling access to these documents, the Vatican controls history itself. It can preserve its image as a moral and spiritual authority, while hiding the political machinations that have shaped its power. Others believe that the secrecy is driven by fear, the fear that certain documents could damage the Church's reputation, reveal dark chapters in its history, or even shake the faith of millions. But there is another more unsettling possibility, that the Vatican is hiding not just its own sins, but knowledge that could challenge the very foundation of Christian belief. Lost gospels that contradict the teachings of the Bible, ancient texts that describe alternative interpretations of Christ's life, or even scientific documents that could upend religious dogma. For the Church, these are not just inconvenient truths, they are existential threats. And so, the archives remain a place of carefully guarded knowledge, where truth is not just preserved, but protected. In an age of information, the Vatican's continued secrecy only deepens the mystery, transforming the archives from a simple library into a fortress of forbidden knowledge. As long as the great bronze doors remain closed, the world can only wonder what lies within. The Vatican Archives are not just a collection of ancient documents. They are a vault of hidden truths, a place where history's most astonishing secrets are preserved in silence. From forbidden texts and lost gospels that challenge the foundations of faith to secret correspondences that reveal the Church's political power, the archives are a treasure trove of knowledge guarded with an iron grip. We have explored the whispered tales of dark grimoires, ancient relics with supernatural powers, and the haunting stories of researchers who were denied access, left only with questions they could never answer. But in every tale, one truth remains clear. The Vatican's obsession with secrecy is not just about protecting fragile documents. It is about controlling history, preserving power, and guarding a narrative that has shaped the world for centuries. But what is the Church so afraid of? Is it the scandal of hidden sins, the revelation of dangerous knowledge, or the simple loss of its spiritual authority? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: the Vatican Archives will continue to be a place of mystery, a forbidden realm where truth is both preserved and hidden. Subscribe for more hidden history and uncover the secrets they don't want you to know.